Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Tanchjim Effect Audio Force, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Tanchjim Audio for providing the Force for review. Greatly appreciate it. Tanchjim Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Tanchjim Audio Effect Audio Force. This will set you back $280 from your bank account. It is a dual dynamic driver configuration. There are a DMT4 Ultra 8.2mm beryllium driver and also a DMT4 Ultra 10mm titanium driver. 17 ohms of impedance and 120 decibels of sensitivity with a frequency response range of 8 Hz to 48 kHz. The Tanchjim Effect Audio Force is a collaboration between Tanchjim Audio and Effect Audio. Effect Audio created a special cable for Tanchjim, and the tuning and all the other stuff that goes along with it was done by Tanchjim, and they kind of mixed all the colors together and made a nice looking IEM. The unboxing experience is very, very similar to the Tanchjim Origin. If you're familiar with the unboxing of the Origin, this is going to look very, very similar. Get some artistic flair and branding on the front. On the back side, you get some specs and information, a little bit more branding. Sliding off the sleeve, you get the usual Tanchjim gray box with their logo on it. Taking off that sleeve, you get the paperwork envelope. And then you have the area for the accessories, your IEMs to sit, and then an area that some of the tips fit. Tips. So the tips that they provide, you get these tips that are pretty standard for Tanchjim. They are a slightly shallow, narrower bore tip, and I found that I like them. They fit me, and that the sound was slightly more bassy and a little bit more elevated in the upper mids, making it more of a somewhat energetic V-shaped sound signature with these tips. The tips that I preferred were the wide bore silicone tip. These tips fit me slightly better and sounded a little bit more balanced and cohesive. Didn't have as much bass impact, but that upper mid region wasn't quite as forthright as it was with the narrower bore tip. Some of the other accessories, you get a white case. Now this is the same case as you get with the Origin, and I highly recommend that you don't eat anything or have sticky fingers or dirty fingers when you touch this, because this thing is going to pick it up. You're going to get it discolored very quickly. Nice button snap. Plenty of room for your force to fit inside. It's going to protect it. It's probably not the most secure, but it's small, lightweight. It is going to protect for the most part, and it easily fits into a bag. And then you get another little bag that has a couple little goodies in it, and those goodies are extra terminations. So the cable that Effect Audio has provided is a termination, modular termination, and you get 3.5, 4.4, and USB-C. Yes, you can use this with the Tanchjim DSP app. There's the USB connector, and there's the 3.5. They're all 90-degree. Connect with mini XLR, which is a nice little feature. While we're on the topic of the cable, let's talk about it real quick. So this is an Effect Audio cable. This is kind of like a dumbed down version of the Effect Audio Cadmus. This is a UPOCC single crystal copper with a modular jack terminations, and I find that the ear hooks are nicely well controlled. They could have just a little bit more stiffness to them. They connect with 2-pin, very small connector there. And then it has a nice split, which actually stays in place. I like the fact that It says Force on the split, and then it has a little bit of aesthetics just to kind of match the looks of the Force themselves. Then you have a nice weave, and then it terminates into your mini XLR. It's a little bit on the snug side. You do have to pull a little bit. Nice and small again. And there's a little lineup, and you just whoop, pop it on. And you can have 4.4, 3.5, or USB-C. I find that the cable is well built. It is slightly on the side of never truly straightening out. It's always had just a little bit of the swervy curvies, and it does tangle just a little bit. But it is one of the better cables that I have come across when it comes to a Tanchjim product, so I'm very happy with it. The Force is a very nice looking IEM. Looks very similar to shapes of the Origin, the Kara, and a few others of the more recent Tanchjim releases. With that transparent back, you can see the big drivers. Taking the tip off, you can kind of see a little bit more of how they are laid out. And they just fit in there snugly. On the shells, you have here on the left hand side, it says Force. And then up top, you have the screen for the semi-open back design. And then on the right hand side, it says Tanchjim. Very nice looking. I like the look of them. And they also fit me quite well. I find that with the wide bore tip, they just snug in. Now you have that long nozzle length like you do with the Kara, and I find that they just fit in. There's a smoother back with kind of like a step up design, but the angle isn't super aggressive, and it just kind of extends really long. And I find that it just fits in my ears very, very well. They're extremely comfortable. I can wear these for hours upon hours. When I have them in, I know that they're in there, but they're not uncomfortable at all. Isolation of outside noises is also really good. Even with the silicone tips, I find we're probably somewhere 60% outside noises being blocked. It's rather hard to carry on a conversation with somebody unless they're talking super loud or you're really good at lip reading, which I am not. Things like vacuum cleaners and coffee grinders were somewhat able to be heard, but they're quite muffled. Everything else was very, very hard to hear. Going outside, it was pretty much only louder vehicles was I able to hear. Carry on a conversation with somebody, I did have pop them out. Even with this open back design shape, they are very, very good at noise isolation, I found. The other thing, which is important with the open back design, is how much they leak. I didn't really find that they leaked a whole lot of sound. Nobody was looking at me crazy like, wow, why are you listening so loud, or what are you listening to? They didn't really leak a whole lot. It was noticeable, but you really, really had to listen for it. And you had to have music up super loud. So these do a good job with noise isolation in and out. One thing of note that I did find is that the sonic foam tips were actually rather comfortable to wear, but also they did a good job with noise isolation, and they didn't alter the sound. I was rather impressed at how much it retained the same similar presentation as it does with the silicone wide bore tip. I found the sonic foams did slightly better with noise isolation, but maintained the same presentation that I was getting with the wide bore tip, and they were a little comfortable. So if you want to use foam tips, which Tanchjim didn't provide, there will be a link for the sonic foam tips. Highly recommend those. The Tanchjim Effect Audio Force is rather easy to drive. 17 ohms of impedance and 120 decibels sensitivity. Pretty much anything will drive these. Even the lesser powered dongles was able to drive the Force with ease. These things got loud rather quickly. I found that I had no issues whatsoever. There wasn't really a reason to have to run them balanced. The only reason why I run them balanced is because most of my sources are balanced with 4.4 output. And so I just don't like having to change all the different terminations every single time, depending on what source I'm using. So I just stuck with 4.4. But it's not necessary because these do not require loud power. But it does benefit. And it benefits in that these scale with better source gear. So if you give them a little bit of power, it brings out a little bit of dynamics. If you give them a little cleaner of a source, they reveal more and it just sounds more crisp and clean. And so rewarding them with a better source rewards your ears with a better quality sound. So do keep that in mind. They scale very well with different sources. They reveal sources also very, very well. So if your source is a very overly warm and thick sounding type of source, the Force is going to reveal that. If it's a cold, brittle, kind of clinical type of sound, it's going to reveal that. If it's a neutral sound, it's going to reveal that. So they do a very good job of revealing sources and their presentations. Speaking of presentation, how does the Tanchjim Effect Audio Force sound? I find that the Force has a bass that is more about quality than quantity, but that does not mean it doesn't have quantity. So the sub bass of the Tanchjim Force extends nicely. It reaches down. There's a deepness to the bass. It reaches down and it reveals what's deep inside. It has a rumble and grumble when called upon, but it doesn't show its face. It doesn't reveal itself until it's called upon in the track. It's a very well controlled and a very, I guess, patient, waiting its turn type of bass. The sub bass will rumble and grumble when called upon, and you'll hear it's got it, but it's not always there. But when it is, it surprises you with its abilities and its quality. Mid bass. The mid bass has a little bit of impact, punch, and slam. This is a mid bass that's very well controlled. It has nice details, nice resolution, and good rumble and grumble, nice texture when called upon. Again, just like the sub bass, this mid bass does not really show its hand unless it's called upon. Unless it's in the track, you're going to kind of the bass is just kind of going to go along, and then it shows up and that kind of disappears again. This is the bass that is all about the quality, not the quantity. The bass has very good details, resolution, and nice accurate tone and timbre. And the mids are mid bass is very well controlled. Upper bass, the same. It is slightly tucked and does not bleed into the lower mid range. And it does make it sound a little bit on the thinner side. It's not a super thick, full, robust bottom end, but it's a very controlled, very natural sounding with good details and resolution and texture. I enjoy this bass a lot, especially when I want to be nitpicking the bass. In the mids are pretty close to being even and cohesive, but there's a slight rise right around 2 to 3K, and it can come across as slightly forward. There's just a little bit too much there, and at times it'll get a little bit too excited, and it'll have a little bit of a tendency to be sibilant, just a little bit. This is not like excessive and super expressive sibilance. It just kind of makes random appearances. So if you're sensitive to that, be aware that the Force may reveal that. If you listen to a lot of music that has sibilance issues, maybe it's not really well recorded, mixed and mastered, the Force is going to reveal that, and they may not be the most pleasant to listen to. This is a very revealing mid-range. It has nice natural tone and timbre and very good details and resolution. nice air and space, and everything just has its own little place. It's a very accurate sounding mid-range with just a little bit of forwardness up top. And so at times it can sound just a little bit on the verge of being sibilant. So just be aware of that. If you're sensitive to that area, the force may be too much for you. I find it to be borderline for me and doesn't really bother me too much, but it could be a problem child for those who are a little bit more sensitive in that area. The treble is very well controlled, but yet energetic. It also has nice air and space. I found that the treble extends very nicely. It goes way out there. You can hear all of the extra stuff that you want to hear. The instruments have a nice bite, edge, and crispness to them. Vocalists have a nice bite, edge, and crispness. And then there's good air and space. Everything has its own little area. And I find that it has a good amount of zippity-doo-dah. There's a little bit of zing to the treble, but yet at the same time, it's controlled. It doesn't go into fatigue mode, and it definitely is not in boring mode. I find that the treble has very natural, accurate tone and timbre and good details and resolution. The Tanchjim Effect Audio Force's soundstage is deep and wide. There's this immersiveness to the Force, and I don't always test soundstage by playing games on my PlayStation 5, but I broke out my PS5 and hooked up the Force to it, and I started playing some NCAA Football 26 and some other games like Assetto Corsa Compensione and a few other racing games, and I felt like I was there. It was very immersive, very wide open, has really nice layering and good imaging. I could easily place things around me on the racetrack, on the field. I heard people talking and moving around, and yet it kept everything focused. So I wasn't like having my head on a swivel. I was able to go, okay, that's on my right, that's on my left, that's behind, that's in front, that the things are moving around me. And I could easily tell when I was racing, cars coming up beside me, moving around. I could hear when I was touching the rumble strips, or if something was going on with the car, if my engine was missing, misfiring, or if my brakes were squeaky, things. I could hear all the little details I needed to hear to be able to race effectively, but at the same time, enjoy it and not have brain overload. Same thing with music. You can hear everything going on in the stage. You can place it from side to side. Things flow across the stage very well. There's no jittering or stuttering. Everything is precisely accurate. And then you can go, that's right there, that's right there. You can pinpoint and nitpick things. And there's good depth. You can really look into the stage. And then there's nice layering. Things have their own little place and their own little room to move around. And it focuses in and it just places things very well. It's a nice, deep and wide stage with excellent layering and imaging capabilities. I find that the details and resolution are also top notch for its price point. I was rather impressed at how much information I was getting and how well it was refined, defined, and focused. The Tanchjim Effect Audio Force is an excellent technical IEM. You get a lot of information. It gives you all the details. I was not missing anything. I was hearing things I don't normally hear in this price point, and it was very well resolved all the way through. The only times that there was any sort of shimmer or glassy or glariness was in that upper mid-range where it was slightly more elevated. Every now and then they would sound a little bit too forthright, but those were few and far between instances. I find that the tone and timbre is good. It has a nice natural tone to it, but it's just slightly thin. I wish that there was just a little bit more body to carry things through and make it sound just a little bit more natural. It's a nice tonality to it. I just wish it had a little bit more oomph, just a little bit more body to the overall presentation throughout the bass, the mids, and the treble. So, the Tanchjim Effect Audio Force. How does it compare to its sibling, which is about $20 less? That is the Tanchjim Origin. Now, Tanchjim Origin Cable's not as nice. It is an okay cable. Ear hooks are slightly better. Maybe I like the ear hooks better on the Origin. The shell is closed back and it's definitely heavier. It's all metal. I find that they fit very similar as far as the shape. The Force is maybe slightly longer when it comes to the nozzle length, and the angle maybe just a little bit more aggressive on the Origin. I find the Origin to be very comfortable sound-wise. The Tanchjim Origin is more full sounding. When it comes to that tone and timbre, it has a little bit more natural sound presentation. It has a little bit more thickness, a little bit more fullness, a little bit more body, and it kind of hits home a little bit more. Also, the upper mids are slightly more controlled than they are on the Force. The Force has a little bit more energy there and just a little bit more elevation. When it comes to detail retrieval and resolution, the Origin beats out the Force slightly. They're both excellent, but the Origin is just slightly better. And in resolution, they're fairly even. When it comes to the tone and timbre, Origin is more natural and accurate sounding. And when it comes to the stage is wider, it's deeper, and it's just a little bit bigger on the Force. Imaging is pretty close. So, if you're looking for an IEM that's more of a stage monitor and a little bit more technical and a little bit more precise and accurate and natural sounding, I would go with the Origin. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more immersive, a little bit more fun sounding, but still gives you all the technicalities and all the abilities, I would go with the Force. They're both amazing IEMs, and I truly like both of them. And the Origin has really impressed me. This is a fantastic IEM that I truly enjoy. But coming in at $280, it is a little pricey. But you're getting an effect audio cable along with it. And to me, that makes the value worth it. It's a nice cable plus a real high quality IEM. Speaking of cables, real quickly, effect audio cables, if you have any of them laying around in your collection or you want to upgrade, highly recommend them. This cable is very, very similar to the Cadmus cable. If you put the Cadmus on, the Cadmus comes a little bit, turns the Force into a little bit more technical sound, a little bit more on the clinical side of things, but you get a little bit more dynamics. I find that the AXC cable, which is copper and silver combined, kind of gives you a little bit more body, but also gives you the technical abilities with detail retrieval, resolution, and tone and timbre kind of mixed all together, and it becomes a little bit more pleasurable, but while still having those clinical tendencies. And those were the two cables that I really appreciated the Force with, if you're not going to use the stock cable, was the Effect Audio Cadmus and also the Effect Audio AXC. All right, so I highly recommend the Force. This thing is fantastic. I think it's a really, really good value, and it is got some good chops to it. This can hold its own against its competition, and it beats a lot of its competition. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video, and check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information regarding how you can contact the channel, follow the channel, support the channel. Speak of supporting the channel, I want to thank my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you very much for all that you give to the channel. It's much appreciated. You all rock. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out the link down below. There's all kinds of ways that you can do that through Patreon and YouTube memberships or one-time gifts. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. Also down below, there's all kinds of other information, music recommendations, gear recommendations, and all that kind of stuff is listed down below. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music and that honesty is the best policy.